Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of King Me Rev's Hype Podcast with, of course, your host, myself, the Rev Dude. Now, as I had been telling everyone, I am going to be having these extra special bonus episodes with extra special individuals in our community that I genuinely find to be not only fascinating, but talented. And coming from the professional wrestling background as I have, there was one person that kept popping up in all of my conversations when I'm talking to these professional wrestlers, especially over at Nepwa. So I just had to go and ask kindly for them to join me. And let me introduce Ahna is a New England-based special effects makeup artist and body painter. She runs Designers, Artists, and Human Canvases, an immersive collective and studio in Lowell, Massachusetts. The focus is transforming people into living artwork, not just costumes or makeup, but full, intuitive, magical body paint and special effects experiences, which serves clients all over Massachusetts and New England, right? For any of your special needs. So, with that being said, Ahna, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
So, I'm genuinely excited. I've literally seen the fruits of your labor on many occasions across many different professional wrestling experiences all over New England, and I follow your social media posts. So I know that there would be wrestling fans who watch this who would have seen all the different people that you would have had the wonder of working with. However, just for those who may not have seen your work, could you please go ahead and let us know some of the talent you've worked with in the professional wrestling industry?
Yeah, thank you. And I appreciate you following me and following the journey. Some of the talent I've gotten to work with, well, and I hate to be biased, but he's my favorite, Mr. Aaron Rourke. He's my favorite wrestler in the whole world. And I've gotten to paint him on numerous occasions, and he is blooming and budding in the indie world. And now with WWE Evolve, so like that is so cool for him. I've gotten to work with a lot of indie wrestlers. We've got Miss Becca, of course, the pop star that everyone loves to hate or hates to love or whatever. Um, We've gotten to work with stars as big as Leo Rush. I got to work with him. He messaged me to that he was going to be in Lowell for. Sorry, my brain. He messaged me that he was going to be in Lowell for an event, and I got to paint him for that. Um, we've got to paint with Rad Pro Wrestling. Chaotic wrestling wrestlers, so many fun people. So yeah.
Wonderful. And I'm happy you said it because I was genuinely hoping. I wanted to start out the podcast with it, but I was hoping you'd say it first. To Aaron Rourke, congratulations on your win and new reign as the WWE Evolve Champion. If anybody has been ever following my channels, my daughter is an absolute loved, professed loved of both Aaron Rourke and Becca, to the extent where Aaron Rourke at one of the last Rad Pro shows we were at, he actually, while coming into the ring, stopped and posed for her specifically, and she was able to take a picture. And within that particular moment, that inspired her to become a wrestling photographer. So, with that being said, I will always have nothing but the utmost love and respect for Aaron Rourke, not only for what he has achieved in the wrestling ring, which I'm sure he's going to do so much more, not only because he's Nepwa and Nepwa for life, guys, but for the fact that his kindness inspired my daughter to it literally changed her life, and now she's following her dreams and her passions. So I know I've got the absolute honor and pleasure of telling that to his face on a couple occasions, but just to have it being said, with this being shortly after his great win, thank you, Mr. Rourke. The King family loves you very much, and we appreciate you. So
He's an amazing. He's definitely a superstar because you know what? Superstars inspire other people. Okay.
Exactly,
Hmm.
exactly. So
Hmm.
I wanted to. I'm so I'm so happy you were able to help me. I had a feeling you'd bring him up. So I mean, because why wouldn't you bring him
How
up?
could
So
not?
right, right. So I was really hoping you would because it was going to go into that little speech, but
Yeah.
uh, he's an absolute incredible talent and a wonderful human being, and I can tell you, JJ was not happy when he was the bad guy beating up Milo Mira. She was not. She's, why is he
Yeah,
doing this to me?
sometimes these things have to be done, though. You know.
Yeah, no, she's just a kid. It's okay. It's all right. She's just a kid.
But he does make a good heel.
He does. He does make a
I'm
fantastic.
really good at it.
I
Yeah.
mean, he's evil gay. It makes sense, right? He's evil gay.
Yeah.
So, and he's fantastic at it. And if anybody says otherwise, they clearly don't know wrestling.
Absolutely.
Let's
And that's the
they
thing
just
about wrestling in general. It's the theatrics too. He's such a performer. A lot of these people, that's why I love working with them because they're performers. They get to, well, first of all, I get to help them sometimes design the art for it, or sometimes I'm just told what I have to do, which is fine. Um, but it enhances their looks for their performance. So now they're stepping into the character. He feels his paint. He sees himself. He does, it's like a whole transformation, and that's like the literal joy that I get from doing it, and then I get to see them bloom like he has, and it's wonderful. It's all part of the art.
yeah, and that's honestly one of the reasons why I wanted to bring you on, because I have seen not only is your artwork incredible, like with all
Thank
like
you.
I we are this is the hype podcast because I'm gonna gas you up all day, right? We are this is the all hype zone, my
Thank
friend.
you.
So I'm gonna literally tell you, hey, your artwork is not just incredible, but I have seen it have transformative effects. I mean, we have had the wonderful Shannon Levangie on this podcast, and Shannon is absolutely incredible. Not only as a performer in the ring, but as a human being, she has been so courteous and kind. Um, I have told Shannon that she is going to be the Bailey to JJ's Izzy, and give it 3 years, and JJ will also be signed up for Nepwa. And I guess I should say it for anybody who has missed the memo. I have also signed up for Nepwa. So when I
We
when
love
I
that.
when I talk about Nepwa, I am biased and I'm okay with it. All right, guys. Absolutely
Say one
biased.
thing, they go hard. I did train with them for a very small period of time, but I stopped for other reasons. But they go hard, and it is very difficult, but very informative. The trainers are amazing. Everyone there is helpful, in ring, out of ring. They're helpful, and it's a good place to go for sure. So you're going to the right place
Of
for
course,
sure.
of course. And for all my friends at BioPro and some other places, I love you guys. I just picked Nepwa. All right. And maybe someday I'll be able to come over to BioPro and do some stuff with you guys because that'd be great. We have iBlack Jack, Love Doug. We've had TJ Crawford on the podcast. The handyman, Jake. Hopefully you heal soon, my friend, with your job. And I love you guys, and maybe I'll be able to do a couple. I mean, I've done the guest ring announcing for the Wrestling Open a couple of times, and it's been an absolute joy in my life. But just to make sure people are like, well, this guy's always so biased. Yes, I am biased. All right, I'm gonna be. This is a transparent zone, my friends. That's what we have. No smoke. We show no smoke, and we throw no shade, and we keep it real. All right, guys. That's what we do here. But
I love that.
with Shannon. And I told this to her face, and her and I, for anybody who didn't watch that podcast, please go back and watch the one with Shannon because we brought up Eyeless. And I wasn't sure how far we were going to go into the whole Eyeless thing, but your work with that has really, in my opinion, taken that character to a different level that would be much, not more difficult, but, and I've said this to Shannon's face on the podcast, like when I see Shannon, I think of like the proverbial Americana, right? The girl next door. She's got the apple pie slices, and you could tell she was I mean, I know she was like the cross country superstar and all that stuff, but you could just tell like she was like everybody's favorite kid in high school. You know what I mean? Like she's
A
just got
likable
that.
kid. Yeah, she's
She's
very
she's
nice.
she's got that vibe. Like, I will die on this hill, my friend. When it comes down to it, if you don't like Shannon, it's because there's something wrong with you. Because there's nothing wrong with Shannon. And I will die on that hill all day. So for her to transform into Eyeless, I genuinely and personally, professionally believe that your art made it. I wouldn't say easy, but easier. So how and obviously I know there's always a level of you might not be able to peel back the bananas so far, but what was it like working with Shannon and getting that all together?
Working with Shannon was great. She's super easy. It's like she already knew how to just sit there and relax and let me do what I do. It was great working with the whole production with Scott and Red Pro Wrestling and everything. They kind of they gave me like the direction of what to do, but we kind of just went and did what we did and experimented. Her eye, we put like a patch, so we used a little bit of SFX. There's like a little bit that went into it more than just the painting itself to make it last long and all that. But working with her, she was just super nice about it. Everything just, took it in stride, basically.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect any less from a
Yeah.
superstar Shannon
No
Levine.
problems, no whining, no complaints. She's just super
Right.
happy.
Super
And
happy.
very, very good.
She is a positive, bright light in a cloudy universe. Let
Mhm.
me.
And with painting, it's like a transfer back and forth of energy. And when a person is very calm, like Shannon and stuff, it makes my work a little bit easier because we're transferring that vibe back and forth.
Of course, it's always much easier to work with someone who is able to be in the here and now. I actually went to the Art Institute of Phoenix to get a bachelor's degree in digital filmmaking and video production, and during the time that I was in college and beyond, I've had the luxury of being in many productions of various things, and whether I was directing it or just lending my voice for a few things, it's always a much more genuine pleasure and a better productive experience when everyone involved is cohesive and on the same page. There was a short film I did where I was like the like a serial killer that was on the loose and shooting people, and
You a serial killer? I don't believe it.
yeah. Well, it
I
was
have to
more
see
like
this.
oh, no, thank you. It was more like I was like I guess to be technical, it was more like I was a hitman, and there was a young lady that had to pretend to be my victim, and she just had to sit there for I don't know how long, covered in sticky fake blood and all kinds of stuff forever. I'm sure it was uncomfortable and I'm sure it wasn't fun. And the fact that she could have hemmed and hawed, it made it difficult on everyone to go through the process. But she was a real trooper, and it was very much appreciative because sometimes you get it right.
Some people get the assignment. Yeah.
Right. Some people just understand, and the great thing, and like you brought up, is its energy is reciprocal. So the fact that I got to see her go through what she went through, and she came out the other side without complaints, I did my parts in the same manner, and I feel like my part was better because I felt like she made a precedent. She had an example, and I had to
Mhm.
follow that example, right? Because obviously,
That's
once
what I
her
said.
stuff,
Superstars inspire. She must be a superstar.
superstar all
Hmm.
day.
Hmm.
And for anybody who's seen that short film, it was a lot of fun. And this was back in Phoenix, so I think it was like 100 degrees that day. I ended up getting very poorly sunburnt. I would say very bad sunburnt. but one of my favorite scenes was there was a part where I was supposed to just be zoned out and just blank staring into the camera, and it was wonderful because there was flies that were, because I had this fake blood and stuff all over me, right? So there was flies that started like accumulating on my face, and most people would think, oh, you just smack the fly away, but I was supposed to be in this catatonic state. So knowing that she was able to be a catatonic state when she was covered in blood, I had to do the same. So it gave more depth to the character that there's these flies on his face and he couldn't care less. I don't know. It was
Absolutely.
it was great. So now that we've talked about that, I did want to ask you, like, if you could just let us know what got you into this whole special effects and the makeup in the first place.
Well, if we go way, way back to when I was a little kid, and this is kind of crazy now that I think about it, but the Exorcist movie is what got me. Mm-hmm. Yep.
And
I remember being a little girl and I saw the making of The Exorcist. It wasn't even the movie itself, it was the making of The Exorcist. And it was everything in that, from the way that Linda just acted. She did makeup. There was all these props and different contraptions she had to be a part of to make the scenes happen. There was all these background, like, I'm very big on practical effects, or like old school effects, or like out of box effects. So I like the old school art stuff. I like the digital stuff now. It's cool, but it was the practical effects that got me in that movie. And it was just, I lost it from there. I just started making things on my own. I became a face painter as I got older because I had a daughter when I was 16. I got pregnant. I had a daughter very young. And one of the first things I did was I was a face painter at her schools. And that's when it started, the face painting part. And then I was like, wait a minute, you can paint a whole body, right? And then I was like, wait a minute, that's like so much more canvas. And then I remembered my practical stuff from when I was a kid, and it just all blended together. And 15 years later, and this is what we do.
that's wonderful. And for anybody who's going to be thinking about this, I might as well just point out the elephant in the room. I also had a child when I was 16 years old, so
Oh,
I
wow, we're twins.
we I I'm sure we could tell stories and cross stories, and I
It's something that'll make or break you. I will tell you that.
agreed. However, I could say to my own special children, don't have any kids until you're like 30, okay? So,
Yeah. My daughter, she's
um,
19 right now in college. She better stay there. My son, he's 11, a genius, and he better stay doing that.
yeah, exactly. Like, I would say, like, my son, he just turned 24 a couple of weeks ago, and and for anybody who's just trying to do the math, I'm 40, okay? There you go. Let's just get the math out of the that
And don't ask the math, because you never ask a lady her age.
There you go. But people always ask me the math, and I'm just gonna. It's all right. I think I look okay for 40, so it's okay, guys. Boom.
Yeah.
Um,
And for the record,
24.
these are my grays. I've earned every single one of them.
There you go. You know what? You know what's funny? I've actually been kind of low key waiting for the grays. I really want to be a silver fox. So
Embrace them.
I'm
Embrace them when
I'm
they come.
there's shout out to super fan John Austin. He's got the silver fox look going. Pretty sure I'm older than he is. I know I'm older than Scott, but anytime I see anybody with grays, well, not to say that Scott has a bunch of grays or whatever, Jesus Christ, but the idea is that anytime I think about getting older with the grays, I'm just like, yeah, I could be a silver fox. At least my friend, shout out to my bestie Phoenicia, she hyped me up about being a silver fox someday. So I'm embracing it, and I'm kind of like low key waiting for it to happen. So,
I
um,
just usually get the shock of, wait, you have a 19-year-old? No one
yeah,
ever believes me. And I'm like, I gotta,
no,
yeah, I
no,
do.
and when I was younger, when I was 16 and I just had a kid, some of my teachers tried to ask me to like speak on behalf of the school and try to tell other people like don't have kids and stuff, and I was just like insulted at that point. But now as a grown adult, and maybe even 10 years ago, I wish I did, because now I get what they were saying. I thought they were insulting me, but now I get it, like, no, I made a conscientious decision to do something I shouldn't have done, and it made my life much more difficult. I would never go back in light and change it, but to make other people more conscientiously aware that it's not easy. It's not a horrible thing. Education and information and helping ignorant folks learn some stuff is never a horrible thing in my opinion. I don't think of ignorance as a dirty word. I think of it as a positive word to, because I mean,
Not everybody knows.
right.
And you're smart enough, if you're smart enough to know that not everybody knows and not everyone has the answer, then you're doing pretty all right.
Yeah, and then there's literally doctorates and things that I've never even understood. Yeah, like there's not one person could get a doctorate in every single field that's ever existed. So ignorance, as I tell my children, you're born without the ability to talk, walk, and live without the help and assistance from others.
Mhm.
So why is it so shocking or insulting when someone says you don't know this? Yeah, you didn't know how to talk like until you were 3 or whatever. All right, so you had like 6 words in your vocabulary for like 3 years, guys. Come on, get over it. I don't know. It's a learning experience. But did you do any like official going to school for it, or did everything you just learned on your own?
Learned on my own. You know what? I did grow up in an art community, sort of. So I grew up in Beverly. Well, I lived in Chelsea for a long time, and then at my like high school years, I lived in Beverly, and that's a big art community. So kind of hanging with the locals and seeing shows is kind of the only real formal anything, like taking small classes, but no education in college or anything like.
So everything was just trial and error.
Pretty much.
See, and I have to show so much more respect. Not to say that it's horrible to guys. If you need to get training, it's fine. If you can find someone you can become their
Absolutely.
apprentice to be a mentor, no problem, right? That's great. But the idea that you've been able to, you know, do the beautiful art that you do and you completely on your own, I love highlighting that to people because let's be quite frank, we as a society are very fearful, right? Fear is where you get anxiety, right? Fear is marginally speaking, anxiety is just fear of the unknown. You have something that's going to happen, you don't know how it's going to end, and you're just afraid.
Mhm.
So I always try to explain to people that just because you're afraid doesn't mean you shouldn't try. Doesn't mean you shouldn't, just because you think you're going to be bad at it at first, doesn't mean you shouldn't ever do it ever, right? I just said I'm 40 years old. I just signed up for NEPWA. I can tell you distinctly, and I can say this to you and I can say it to everybody else, there is nothing I feel like in the last so many years of my life that was more terrifying than being a 40-year-old man signing up for a pro wrestling school, right? As someone who has utmost respect and love and admiration for not only wrestlers but the wrestling profession, my brain told me, who am I to desecrate this holy ring by stepping in it and making a mockery of it? That's where my brain went. And I told my children, like, listen, I couldn't be more scared right than I am right now going on this journey. But that shouldn't stop you.
Right.
Shouldn't stop
And
you.
your mindset is already good. The fact that you're already considering these things, like, I don't want to disrespect. I don't want, you're thinking, you're conscious of that. You're not going to, because you want to be there. Those types of places, you have to want to be there, you know, and then
Exactly.
you won't succeed otherwise, you know.
You you got to do what's best. And I've said this 1,000 times, and I'll say it 1,000 more. No one turns 60 and says, "I should have been a customer service representative for a phone tree." All right, and yes, if you have that job, I'm not bashing you. But what I'm saying is, no one looks back on their life and says, "What if I was an accountant?" Because that 9 to 5 is always going to be there. But the idea of trying to do something that makes your soul go to the next level,
Hmm.
follow it, my friends. Follow your
What
dreams.
you could do there too, because what if you end up being an opportunity to be an announcer? You already sound like you've got like MC qualities. So I mean, there's tons of different things. You could get invited to WWE for an extra on something. You don't know the things that can pop up for you. You go, you be a part of the community, and you do your thing.
Right. And I
All
appreciate
community. Community is important there. So, and
exactly.
you're already thinking in that way. You don't want to disrespect, like I said. You don't want to do these things. You're already thinking community. You want to be a part. You want to do things. Yeah. So that's good. Good on you.
And thank you. And the great thing is, at least people know for sure, I'm not walking in there with some ego. There is no chips
Right.
on
Right.
my shoulders. I don't think I'm God's gift to the universe. I just want to be part of the team, guys. So,
Hmm.
and I have done a couple of the guest announcing spots, and it was probably some of the most thrilling parts of my entire life, to be quite frank. So I'd love to get back to it.
Heck
Rich
yeah.
Palladino, I'm looking at you. Rich is the goat. Rich is the goat. Um, so we talked about the idea that you're self-taught. How did you go from, face painting, body painting to opening up your own like studio?
Um, it was kind of a natural progression. So the studio itself is more for it's like the artist collective. It's where we do our classes, host our events, stuff like that, sharing job opportunities. The newest part of it is we're organizing an official guild, and getting all that is, like I said, it's community. So, like with the wrestling world, I've built my own community of artists who do artists and performers. So it's everything from face painting to body art to SFX to burlesque dancers to circus performers, clowns, balloon artists, all of that. And it's kind of like a progression. It's just kind of meeting people, networking, going to places I want to be. Like I wanted to be in the wrestling world. So I went to where wrestlers were. I was actually with that, I was looking things up, and sometimes people just come to you. And that's how that opportunity came about. But it's putting out your feelers and your wants into the universe, and that stuff comes back. Sometimes it takes time. But yeah, that's kind of how it is.
And that's a beautiful sentiment. Like, I genuinely believe in energy. I believe in the idea of reciprocal energy, and what you put in the universe is what you should be getting back from the universe. And so I applaud you for that. And my next question was going to be, how did you get into the professional wrestling side, and you know, essentially the idea of where have you been a wrestling fan your whole life, or where did all that come from?
So my wrestling background, actually, we'll give a shout out to my brother Conrado. I was his crash dummy for years. I was under the blankets on the bed, hell yeah, while he was jumping off the bureaus. Yup, I was his hype girl. Um, But, it all started when I was younger. I was kind of brought up in the Attitude Era, so, when I was younger, I have memories of, like, going to Saugus and meeting Stone Cold, or going to, the New York Cafe, like, when that was a thing my mom brought us. So that was, like, my basis of where wrestling, like, where I, saw wrestling. I fell off, for a long time of watching it, which I think a lot of us do sometimes, and now it's, like, super popular again, which
Right.
is crazy, which is like, I mean, why wasn't it already? But anyways, that's the point. Um, but I mean, getting back into it, I've always loved performance art, anything to do with theater. And so I was looking at a bunch of different types of theater things because I wanted to work with some more performers. And then I had thought of wanting to train, for professional wrestling, which it was not for me. Okay. The group was great, everyone's great, but, um, moving forward with it, it all started with, I was just looking on Instagram. I was just looking at wrestlers and stuff, and indie people, and then they started all following me. So like I said, it was that universal thing, and it all kinda trickles into itself. I can't pinpoint one thing I do that makes something else happen, but I was looking, they started following me, I got asked a question, and that's kind of where it trickled into today's stuff.
Wonderful. And I couldn't be as anybody who would know, and I've probably said this in every single podcast because it has to come out. My son's name is Sean Austin. So I named him after Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold Steve Austin. So when you said you met Stone Cold Steve Austin, I was like, oh my God, you lucky duckling. Um, and you went to WWF New York. That's all. That's incredible. Did
That was so cool. Oh my God. I got
that?
to
Yeah.
that night we met so many people. I got to see there was Goldust, his wife, JR, like there was so many different people there, and we accidentally, my mom, I don't even know how my mom did it, but she accidentally got us into one of the VIP tables, and we were at the front where they were announcing the whole show, and oh, it was so freaking cool. But anyway, sorry, my
No, that's
ADHD
great.
brain, I had to revisit it.
That's great. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be 75 million people besides myself that are going to be super jealous. I know as a kid, I would see that stuff and I'd be like, dude, I wish I could go there. I've met a couple people who've gone, some people who like legit
I'm gonna
stole
have to
stuff.
share some pictures. My
Yeah.
mom has them for sure. I'm gonna have to share some pictures with you.
Yeah, no, that would be awesome. I know some people who straight like stole like stuff, like they stole a menu or they stole like napkins or something. Like they stole all kinds of stuff. Like I got a fork. It says WWF on it. I'm like, I don't know where else you'd get it, so I guess I gotta believe you, right? I
We
mean,
didn't steal
sure.
nothing. We just got pictures.
Yeah, no, I mean that's better. I would, especially meeting someone like Dustin Rhodes, who is like, not to say he's definitely gotten his swan song the last couple of like I don't know 7 years or so, but for a while he was highly underrated for all the worst reasons. But for anybody who knows, he's like certainly within my like, top 10, top 25 wrestlers of all time. I think that there's a whole generation of people that owe that man a tip of the cap for sure. So I know people are going to ask the question. They're gonna want to know like you got a Mount Rushmore or do you got a who's your go-to these days?
For like my favorite wrestlers.
Of course.
Okay. Okay, for theatrics. I love
Okay.
me some Tony Storm. I'm sorry, everybody. She's mm, hello. She's theater. Like she's literally the epitome. That's why I love wrestling. It's the theatrics. It's the drama, all of it. So I would say that she's one of my top right now, in general. Aside from that, oh golly, there's a couple of different ones. I love me my indie wrestlers, obviously.
Of course.
Becca is probably my favorite because she's a freaking pop star, and like I think her tagline on her one of her things was "I'm as real as you want me to be" or something like that. That's freaking hilarious. Like she is a however much of a pop star you want her to be is what she is. And
Right.
I love that. I love that character. Another one, obviously Aaron, I love him. And everything he does. I could go on for days about him. Another main person maybe in WWE. I mean, Rhea is always going to be a classic. She is, in my opinion, like I said, I grew up during Attitude Era. She's my China, you know?
Makes
So,
sense. Makes sense. I mean,
but
no, go ahead. I was gonna say I don't want to cut you off.
oh no. But yeah, she's my
Go
China.
on.
So I would say
All
those
right.
three are like my tops.
There you go. You can't go wrong with folks like that.
And I
And it
love that I actually just thought that they're all females that I just named, which is actually pretty important because I love the fact that female wrestlers are like really making headway. Like there are so many female wrestlers nowadays, and there weren't as many when I was growing up. So I think that that's really, really cool too.
yeah, it's fantastic. Genuinely, I would say for anybody who hasn't seen it yet, go back and watch the episode with Shannon because her and I got into that conversation. I made a I
Hmm.
made a I made a as a 40-year-old man, I made a pretty bold statement that some people may or may not like and some people may or may not find controversial, but I have said that I would take NXT Black and Gold over the Attitude Era any day because as not only a son, not only a brother, but a father, it is embarrassing to go back and watch the Attitude Era and see how poorly women were treated at that time. It's embarrassing. I find it absolutely appalling and disgusting. And I don't blame the women. They did the best they could with what they were given. but every single one of them deserve to be treated with more respect and as actual performers and athletes in this industry. And fortunately, thanks to the black and gold, we got a true women's revolution, and we treat women as human beings and not objects, heaven forbid. And now we can have incredible matches and have the neogenesis with the idea of someone like Shannon Levangie. So, and
I don't think people realize too that wrestlers aren't just performers, they're artists. They're not only just performing for you, they're building their entire everything. The way that their face looks, the way that their costume looks, the everything, the gear, everything. It's art. So you need to treat that with respect because art is everything around us. Anything you can think of and look at was created somehow, some way by an artist. Everything. So it should
right.
be respected.
And I would say for a latest example, we could go with someone as amazing like Chelsea Green, right? Chelsea has made it a point to every single time she wrestles, she has a different outfit. That's
Mhm.
not easy. That's not cheap,
And
right?
creative. It's the creativity. This is the part of the wrestling I live for. Mhm.
Right? I mean, that's what, at least 52 different outfits a year, right? Come on, guys. Like that doesn't happen in a vacuum. You would actually have to be able to sit down and be able to think of a new thing every single week. Like that's my hat is tip of the cap to her for being able to pull that off. Speaking of incredible artists, when you're building, your look or, when it comes to your workflow, materials, prep, layering, durability, how do you adapt it for live events versus something like film?
So it really depends. I gotta use like on it, well, because sometimes in film you have to have durability too. So it really does depend. But I would think like a water-based paint obviously is gonna wash off if you have sweat. So that's not something I would use. I would use more of an alcohol-based paint or something like that. Actually, it was so funny. Ariel was just saying, I painted her at Chaotic. Um, I think it's called Romy. Sorry, my son is so much more into the K-pop Demon Slayer, Demon Hunter, whatever it's called. But I did that look for her. I know my son's probably watching this, like, oh my god, you dinkus. But I did that look, and she posted the next day because she hadn't washed it off. She's like, when you're going to drop your kids off, and you still have the art because it was that good. So yeah, I would do stuff like that, like to make sure it stays on.
See, and that's hilarious because when the monarchy came out as the K-pop Demon Hunters, my daughter cringed because she didn't like it for whatever reason, and she was just like, and I'm like,
But
what?
that's like great.
It went over my head. It went all the way over my head. I just thought they looked cool. I was like, oh, they look pretty cool. And she was like, K-pop Demon Hunters, and I'm just like, dude, I don't.
See, but it's
I
all about the reaction, whether it's good or
right,
bad. There was
right.
reaction. We
I mean,
conveyed something.
exactly. You got the they got a reaction, and it's because of
Hmm.
your art. It was funny because we always get down there like super early anyways, and she was like, I wonder if that lady's already here, and I was like, she's probably got to be, but she's gonna be busy by now. Like there's
I'm the lady.
yeah. Well, we've been talking on using her profile instead of mine for various reasons. Mostly because Instagram doesn't like me, and it's hard for me to message on my own Instagram for some reason. So it's easier for me to use hers. And she was just like, "Oh, haven't you been talking to that lady? Maybe you should do that." And I was like, "She's probably busy, man. It's fine. We'll know she's here because people are going to come out and we're going to see their face painted. It's going to be nice." I know myself. You know, I have always wondered with and maybe this is selfish of me to say, and that's fine because this is my show, right? I'm allowed to be a little selfish, I guess. But so I do cosplay once in a while, de vez en cuando, as you would say, as the Joker,
I love it.
and I would always be curious more to, well, you actually know what you're doing, and I'm just an idiot with some makeup I got from the internet, right? So But I've always kind of like low key wondered like what your version of my Joker would be, because I try to be a different version of the Joker. Like I try to make my own thing. My voice is very much Mark Hamill, because to me Mark Hamill is the Joker. Just like Kevin Conroy will always be my Batman, with all due respect to the rest of them. I love the other guys too. Heath Ledger was amazing, but to me, the buck stops at Mark Hamill. He's got that voice, and everybody's been trying to be like Mark Hamill since that show came out. So, but selfishly, I've just been like, oh, I wonder what she would do with my thing, so I could become the Joker, because it's been, I've gone to Comic Cons as the Joker, and I low key expected people to be put off, but it was very shocking to have even children who were like 11 or 12 years old. I had a young girl come up to me one time, and she was like, I love the Joker. Can I take a picture with you? And I was just like, oh my God.
See?
Yeah.
I love
Huh?
that. That's the transformation I'm talking about. You transform into a character and people love it. Oh man, that's great.
You know,
I gotta see the costume.
yeah, no, I can probably muscle up some pictures, but the funny thing was, I told myself before I went there I was going to stay in character. I was going to stay in character. I was only going to do, I'm going to do the laugh. I'm going to do the whole, whole thing. Try not to do it right now. I'm trying to stay as the Rev dude, not as the Joker right now. And I just, when she came up and talked to me, this little kid, um, she just pulled me right out. I was just like, oh man, like she just melted my heart. I just was like, as a father, it melted my heart to have this little kid come up to me and be like, holy crap, you look so cool. Can I get a picture with you? And I'm like, you want a picture with me? Um, and I even freaked out some. I have a buddy. Shout out to my buddy Matches Malone. He has been a huge cosplayer in the world for the last 30 some odd years. He's an incredible person. In my opinion, he's a saint. He has been there for many kids on hospice and in other hospital situations. He is my true Batman. I love you, Matches. You're my buddy. He will always be part of the family. You know, so for a guy like him to give me the thumbs up that my Joker was pretty fun, it was pretty uh it was probably the for me the highest point of anything I could have ever done, quite frankly. So
Love
I've
that.
definitely been like low key wondering like, ah, maybe I need to. And you do have the services, so this is where I'm gonna throw it back to you. Um, what kind of services do you have at your establishment?
So we have everything from you can book a one-off face paint to a face paint party to a full-on photo shoot day for yourself to a class to having us as a collective come to your event. And that can be anything from having performers to painters to different artist stations. We do festival work and private work, so like private functions. Mhm.
There you go. So my selfish rant turned into a selfless plug for you and your what you do. Have you ever gone to a Comic Con or anything?
So I've painted people for Comic Cons, and I went to Rhode Island Comic Con. Actually, I have a funny story about Comic Con. You want to hear it?
Let's go.
Um, Long story short, I was there vending for a friend who had like a whole like vamp fangs and some other products. So, anyways, I'm there vending for him. I was like his booth babe, and all weekend long, I kept going out to because at that time I had smoked cigarettes. I kept going out to smoke. In this area, and I kept talking to this gentleman, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, wow, he's got some piercing blue eyes, like wow, he's so handsome. Like he looks like not from this world. Not like I was attracted to him, but like, you know how you look, he's got to be someone, a model or something.
Right,
So
right,
we're
right, right.
talking. Um, and and he says something about, oh, this person body painted me. And he shows me a picture of this amazing artist who you should look up, who does tribute art, named Alexandra Beston. And I was like, I know that artist. So I was like, wait a minute. And then I'm like looking at the picture. Do you know who I was sitting there talking to the entire time? Lucius Malfoy.
Wow.
The entire time I didn't know who it was. Because to
Just chilling.
me, I couldn't remember his face aside from when he had the long blonde hair. So I couldn't place him, but the whole time, and he thought it was hilarious that this whole time I didn't know who he was.
That's oh man, that would be something else. I've bumped into people, but I normally know who they are. I remember, was that at Rhode Island Comic Con, I wonder?
That was like a few years ago, yeah.
Okay. Rhode
That was
Island
like
Comic
so
Con.
funny though. He was like,
Yeah,
he was like, what the heck?
that's a great story. There's so many great people that show up at Rhode Island Comic Con. Granite State Comic Con also has some great people as well. The when JJ and I do everything with my daughter. All right, I love and people always give me shit about it. I love my sons. The difference is they don't want to go anywhere. Okay, guys, I didn't choose for them to stay home. My son might be named Sean Austin, but he couldn't give two shits about wrestling. All right, guys. So my daughter goes with me everywhere, and that was her choice. It's not my fault they don't want to show up. Some people are like, you don't love your boys. Like, I do. They don't want to be with me. What do you want me to do? Beat them up and put them in the car? Jesus Christ. The last time we were at Rhode Island Comic Con, it was pretty crazy because um, we were sitting there and we were there to meet the cast really of Supergirl and The Flash, right? And we're sitting there in the morning waiting for it. We're in line for like 2 hours just to get in the building. And John Cryer walked by. And we just kind of had like a panic moment. Like, we're literally waiting in line so we can meet John Cryer. And he's just over there walking to get coffee. And we're just like, oh, John Cryer's great. I don't know if you're familiar with the Brad Pack at all, but that was some great stuff. I mean, he played Lex Luthor in the Supergirl TV show, but most people would know him for his time in 80s movies. Like, he played Ducky in Pretty in Pink. Um, so, you know, you've done other things like Fright Kingdom, is that correct?
Oh yeah. So Fright Kingdom is a haunted house attraction. It's one of the biggest indoor scream parks in New England. They've been a part of a lot of stuff. And I've been working with them, God, maybe almost 10 years now, so a very long time. I've been working with them, but through them we've been able to do a bunch of different projects. I've been their lead makeup artist for a long while. Now I've kind of stepped away because I'm a little more busy, but I still do haunt with them. I still act with them because I love them. They're my favorite little family. But with them we did Hubie Halloween with Adam Sandler. We've been on the Travel Channel, and I got to do makeup for those. So that's been really fun with them too.
So you've been scaring New Englanders for a decade. That sounds great.
I'm really good at it. If you go to Fright Kingdom, all you need to know is I am the loudest one there, and you will hear me, and you better help me find my cat.
All right.
You know, you know.
If you know, you know. When it comes to that type of I mean, you have to be painting like a couple of dozen people, right? Do you have like maybe like an assignment where you have like a book or something? How do you keep it all together, I guess is what I'm asking. How do you keep it all organized? Who's going to be what that day?
At Fright Kingdom.
Right.
So back when I was more of the manager there, we all kind of knew, we all took on a house basically because there's different houses. But yeah, that's kind of how we just base it off of that, whatever the design of the house calls for. If it's a clown house, then, maybe, Joe will take the clown house and they'll do those looks because maybe they're the better at that. It's more finding who's good at what and putting them in the right place.
Talent management, my
Yeah.
friends.
And collaboration. It doesn't mean that, oh, you're not good at this or whatever. It's just your skills really shine when you do this, and you make the production way better at this part, and so on and so forth. Whatever.
Now, this is where I start getting into the weeds, and I hope that my research is correct. But you've described your art as intuitive and almost magical or spell like. How does that intuition play out in real time when you're painting someone's skin?
Well, like I said, it's an energy transfer. Energy is all around us. And I don't know if you knew this, or maybe you did, but body painting is a sacred art form that has been practiced in tons of places for eons, forever. It's for as soon, as long as humans have been here, we've been smearing paint and clay and whatever on ourselves for spiritual reasons or whatever. So for me, that's important to me. That's the basis of it. It's a very sacred art. Every person that I paint, it is an energy transfer, whether you're upset or and I've every single person who has ever been in my chair has always felt so calm after. So I know that it is an energy transfer, because when I come into a painting, I set my God up where it's I'm protected, you're protected, this is what we're doing. We do the painting, and it I don't know why, but it just the energy follows it. It is real. So that's, to me, it's magical because I see it. People get calm, and the common thing everyone says is, this feels like meditation. This feels like a massage. Those things. So I know that it's magic. I know that it's energy. It's you can't tell me no. I see it.
Of course. So it's transformative, it's therapeutic.
Mhm.
A wiser man once told me that meditation is simply focusing the front of your brain on a mundane task so the rest of the brain can be at peace. So I could see something as, well, maybe not always simple as sitting still to let you do your work. Could be, you know, meditative and transformative, and the idea of, like, they're just allowing you to perform it, to do what you do, right?
The
I can.
moment of both of us being in this together. They have
And
to cooperate to let me paint, and I have to cooperate to make them or transform them into what they're looking for or what they're going to be.
right, and you know I, I never take those lightly, those types of moments, because I feel like, especially since social media and cell phones have become prevalent, we as human beings really stopped taking those kinds of one-on-one moments with other people. I was it's funny because I was thinking about this last night. I've been trying to wonder in my brain. I've been trying not to be as nostalgic, but I was being nostalgic because I was thinking about being a kid growing up in the 90s. And in my opinion, it was so much better. And people say, well, look at you now. You're on the internet. Isn't that kind of hypocritical? Maybe I am being hypocritical, but the idea was, when I was a child and you invited people to your birthday, they actually showed up because we had a stronger sense of community, because we weren't attached to everything everywhere all at once. We could
We knew
live.
our neighbors.
Right. You knew your neighbors, you had friends in the community. You wouldn't just, oh well, I texted them today. You would go to their house.
Mhm.
You would have parties and barbecues and get-togethers, and there didn't have to be a formal thing. You just showed up to so and so's house on Saturday, and it wasn't like, you didn't call me first. Like, it was just,
Mhm.
you expected it, right? You expected it. So, not to be the old guy in the room going, well, it was better back in my day, right? But low key, sometimes I do miss those times, and I try to find those kind of things, and transfer that to my children, because I want them to be able to see that you can have more of that type of, I don't know, intrinsic value in the world. You know what I mean? It's just, there's so many times where we've missed out on it because we were too busy playing on our phone or taking pictures or whatever, that we weren't there in the moment. So it's wonderful to hear that you get to be in the moment with so many different people, so many different walks of life, and then so many, I mean, talented people in the world, right? Could be a lot worse. Um,
I think it with performers, it's really nice that I almost get to center them before their performance, because they get that moment to meditate, maybe be in their head or whatever is going on. They feel in the paint, they're getting heat massage, meditation moment, whatever. I think that's really important. It might help. I'm gonna start asking actually. Maybe that does help reset them, but I know I feel it, and their comments tell me that it does help. So
And that's great because I was actually going to be my next question. I love how you're a step. I love how people are always a step ahead of me right now because it's my next question was about the psychology of seeing someone. So I guess I'll transpose it just to the next step. Do you the next part of the question? How does it feel for you to see someone when they're done, they're out of the chair, whatever it is, transform into that next state? Like what do you I mean, we keep talking about transference of energy and stuff. So you put all your energy into these people. Now they're done. You see them be able to maybe look in the mirror for the first time. Psychologically speaking, how do you see them like transform through your art? And then how does that feel for you as a person, as an
that is
artist?
definitely when they finally get to glance from, and that's anyone from a child I'm face painting at a festival to a wrestler that I'm painting for a big performance. That genuine joy is what the job is about. It's the energy transfer, it's the joy, the happiness. You've literally helped them become whatever it is, from a silly little kid's face paint to, a mega superstar, whatever it is. Everyone wants to be seen, everyone wants to be heard, and when you can help someone express, uh, it's just a beautiful thing.
It sounds like a wonderful thing to be a part of, just to be able to sit there and say, I was able to give someone this feeling that day, and we were able to have that moment together. It's a very intimate and it's a great experience. And it maybe this sounds crazy, but this is honestly one of the reasons why I only allow certain people to um like maybe give like cut my hair, right? Because some people would be like, oh well, you know that's crazy, just go get your hair cut. First of all, I was going to name a few places, but I don't want to throw shade. There's some places that I'm definitely not going to trust with my hair. It's not going to happen. And second of all, if I am trusting you with razors and scissors and all kinds of stuff, and you got to try to make me look good, and maybe I'm not, maybe I should have did a little more with my hair today, but what I'm saying is I want to be able to sit there and have a conversation and know that that person is compatible as a human being, because once again, energy is transformed and energy is reciprocal. And if I'm sitting there stewing and you're just this grumpy Gus crying about the world, now I just sat with you for an hour hearing you cry about everything, and now I feel like crap
You're
because
stuck.
I had
You
to,
stuck
I
on
had,
it.
right. You don't, nobody wants the bad juju, my friends. Nobody wants the bad juju.
That's exactly
So,
why, no matter what, I always put that energetic shield on myself, that this I'm going into this with peace, love, and we're just going to do this, and this is going to be great.
so that's beautiful. Walk us, if you could, and I'm kind of curious about the business side at this point. So as the founder of the DAHC art, what were your biggest challenges in turning your creative skills into a scalable service business?
Artists don't know much about business, and I've been one of those for a long time in the beginning. But learning how to market myself, how to network with people. I think that's something that artists forget a lot of the time. And that's one of the biggest things that's helped me. Being collaborative with people. Sometimes, you can't make the money right away. Sometimes you do need to collaborate and make those steps, but also making sure that you don't let people take advantage of your art too, because it is a skill that you've acquired. You can't just give it away for free all the time. But yeah, just knowing discernment with yourself and places and people you work with. um yeah, networking, that sort of stuff. That's how I scaled.
And networking, I mean, to be quite frank with you, networking is fun, in my opinion. Like, I know some
That's
people are
the number
introverted.
one thing you should be doing.
Yes, of course. And some people may have a more difficult time introverted versus extroverted. Um, and maybe I'll peel back my own layers here just for sake of argument, but as a child I was a very introverted person, and I had I didn't realize what it was at the time, but I was very anxious. I was a very anxious person. I'm an overthinker. I'm an overanalyzer, which is literally my job now. I have a job where all I do is analyze everything, and that's why I'm good at it. Is because I never stop thinking. So my whole thing was I had told myself that if I wanted to do anything in this world, I realized that the people who don't speak up don't get anywhere. So and it's going to be weird for me to say this out loud maybe for someone, but watching Shawn Michaels and Stone Cold Steve Austin be the people they were in the ring inspired me to be an extroverted person. And 90% of the time I'm very extroverted, and it's because I've actually reset my brain and reset myself to be that extroverted person, because I thought to myself as a kid, well, if the little guy can kick big guys in the face, why can't I talk? Or if the bald guy can beat up his boss, why can't I talk? And those examples inspired me to go out there in the world and to do something else, even if it was probably against my nature, because I realized that whether I liked it or not, those were going to be the things that got me to the dance. You know what I mean? Sometimes and with all due respect, all growth happens outside of your comfort zone. So you
Sure
don't
do.
you don't have a choice. If you want to grow in this world, you got to be uncomfortable. You got to be now maybe you shouldn't be negligent, or I'm sure OSHA would have a few concerns, but what I'm saying is you still got to be uncomfortable, and you got to be okay with the idea that you are you can be comforted at some points in your life. You don't always have to stay in the uncomfortable, but if you want to grow, you have to be uncomfortable.
You got to do the scary thing a lot of the times because that's where the growth happens for sure.
Of
And it
course,
all starts within yourself because no one, realistically, there's people who can open doors and do this or that, but it starts here. You have to do it. You have to do the work. You have to put the thoughts out there. You have to put the want out there. So I think something that's really helped me is it's almost like a gimmick. Think of it that way, like a wrestler's gimmick. I always say to myself, what would Anna Del Vello do? Because Anna Del Vello to me is my strong character. Like if I was a wrestler, that would be what her name is. But I think of it like if I'm gonna run an event and I'm like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't do that because of this doubt, that doubt, this doubt. I'll be like, well, what would Anna Del Vello do? And then I'm like, she would say, do it. She would say, call these people right here, do this, do that, and get it done, girl. And that's how I motivate myself to get it done. You know what I mean?
agreed, agreed.
Mhm.
What would the you know to put it in the parlance of our times, you have to become the person you want to be, and you ask yourself, hey, the person I'd want to be is here. How would I be where they would want me to be? And you do it. I mean, that's I literally shaved my damn head and said I was Stone Cold Steve Austin Jr. all throughout high school because I wanted to be like Stone Cold Steve Austin. And so I stopped being afraid of telling people to go screw themselves because Stone Cold Steve Austin wouldn't have been afraid to
You
tell
wouldn't do that.
me.
That was your gimmick. That was your Anna Del Vello.
There you go. There you
Love it.
go. So you briefly touched on this, but you host events like Muse and Maker at your studio. Um, what inspired you to create these immersive community focused experiences?
Well, it all starts with literally the name Muse and Maker. Everyone that I work with is both. They're not just like I'm not just a body painter. I also act. I also model. I also sing horribly. Um, there's a lot of things that I do that you don't probably know about because you just see me as the body painter. I have burlesque dancers and showgirl dancers that are friends that are part of our network. who they don't just dance and do performances. They make their costumes, they do their makeup, we're a little bit of everything. So like the Music Maker event specifically is kind of a place where we can host all those types of talents together, basically, and showcase it.
How you throw shade at yourself. You're like, terribly sing. And I'm just like, all right, at least she's.
Oh, I do. Let's do karaoke sometime. You'd be
Oh,
surprised songs I know all the lyrics to.
I, I, karaoke is my all-time favorite. For anybody who hasn't seen it, I wish I was the king. All hail Elvis. He is the king. So, I actually, when I asked my ex-wife to marry me, I did it at a live karaoke in Tempe, Arizona, with a real band, and I sang Elvis to do it. So,
Oh my
uh,
God, that's great.
karaoke is like I miss it dearly, but the thing it's more fun when you do it with people that want to do it. I
Right.
would love I would love to make if I can make time to jump in on that one. That'd be great. There's only a few things in this earth that I love more than being on a microphone, and pretending to be Elvis for 3 minutes is definitely one. Not that I'll ever be as handsome or as rich as he was, but still, I can do my best. I can all hail the king. All hail the king.
I gotcha.
Um so last question, and maybe for anybody who's been watching and is curious, because now I'm like, all right, this sounds great to me. Can you just walk us through what it's like for someone to, maybe they're apprehensive about reaching out? What it's like, what's the experience reaching out for services?
Message
What,
me, email me, whatever. Tell me about your project. It's super simple. All I want to know is, what do you want to create? Pretty much.
and it's just a collaborative effort at that point. Just have a conversation, two people sitting down, and you can just go through it and be like, hey, this is kind of what I'm thinking, but I really don't. I mean, you're the expert, right? I would probably.
A lot of people tend to have like a general idea of what they want to do, but don't know how to execute it. So that's where we come in, where, we can help you. As long as you tell us your project, we can help you decide, okay, you might need those water-based paints, or you might need something that lasts a little longer, or maybe you're going to need SFX for that, or something like that. So it's more so just having the conversation, reaching out to us and letting us know your project, and then we can kind of go from there.
Perfect. This conversation has I've been talking about doing it for 3 years, so I'm just gonna put it out there. This conversation has genuinely piqued the interest of finally doing a photo shoot as the Joker.
We love that.
I'm gonna have to pick your brain about it offline for sure, and just be like, all right, because I have been talking about doing it, and I've had you know a couple of comic books lined up where it's like I want to kind of recreate this look. Well, maybe not necessarily it's more like I want to recreate the posing, but in my own version of the Joker. I don't want to try to just be Jack Nicholson or Heath Ledger or Mark Hamill. I want to be
Your
I
own
created
version.
my own version, right? With
Mhm.
with all due respect, those people were amazing and they did incredible things, but hopefully other people watch this and they get inspired too, and they hit you up and they go to some of your stuff, because you seem to have some great. Is there any other events I'd like to give you the platform to be like, hey, these are the events we have upcoming, or these are the things you can find me at.
Yeah, so our summers and falls are super busy during the weekends and stuff. So if you go to .com /events, you'll see all the stuff that we're going to be a part of. We have some classes happening in studio in the beginning of April, and obviously the Music Maker coming up. But then other than that, you'll see all those updates on our site. And you'll see them on Instagram too.
Instagram, TikTok.
So, oh my God, TikTok. So I used to be more popular on TikTok, but I fell
Mhm.
off. I just haven't been using it. Instagram's where it's at for me. But if you want to stay updated, Instagram would be the place.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say it. It did pop up that you were. at one point super famous on the TikTok, but right. Hey, listen, my job is to make you look good, or
Those are my
it's like,
cringe days. So I loved Jim Carrey growing up, just so you know. So I'm
oh
like,
yes, of course,
I would do all the faces. I'm a
right.
super mover.
I used to do all the me and my buddy would right after Ace Ventura came out. We just Ace Ventura the crap out of each other,
I love it.
and we'd be just sitting there just randomly. We would just throw like you know, or I'd love to do the whole football run in slow motion.
Make little shorts of it. Oh my god, that would
Yeah,
be so fun. The
we
tape
used to
face
if
from Liar Liar. Oh my god, there's so many good moments
the
that I think.
claw, we would just throw things, and every once in a while he would just be sitting there and he would do like a stupid like the mask dance or whatever, and he'd be like, "Why are you laughing? Why?" He'd literally be doing the most ridiculous thing ever. He'd be like, "I don't understand why you think this is funny," while he's dancing like an idiot. I love that guy, Ryan. Shout out to you, Ryan. So I miss you, bro. Um,
Love-
so yeah, thank you so much for being on the channel today. I've genuinely have and once again I'm gonna light it up here, guys. If you have not seen her work, go look at it. It's freaking gorgeous. I almost swore, but I don't have to blink myself out now. It is incredible. JJ and I have genuinely seen your stuff for a while now, and we're just like, holy crap, this person is immaculate. And it really brings ambiance and presence to the ring, especially with someone like Aaron. I'm gonna put the sandwich back together. We started with Aaron, we're gonna end with Aaron. Aaron, we love you.
We love you.
He comes to the ring and he's got it all ready, and you can just tell like he's working it, man. You are
He's
working it. You
no
are
denying.
the I was gonna use a couple terms my daughter uses, but she'll be cringing all over it to like watching this later. She's like, "Why did you say that word? How dare you?" And I was gonna say it. JJ, I love you. I didn't say it, okay? I didn't say it. All right, I almost said it. But once again, thank you so much for being here today. And for everybody else, the next episode you will see will actually be Patrick Wheatman. So, Wheatman! Woo! Thank you so much, and you guys have a good day.